It could be Southern Plains too, but this is kind of called a diatonic flute. So these traditional flutes basically had very interesting tunings in that the people who made them traditionally would kind of use arm measurements or body measurements to make these flutes, kind of the lengths of their hands, widths of their thumbs. And it wasn't to like a Greek scale or like today you go buy a guitar tuner, and all these flutes I have are tuned to that. And when I picked up one, I was like, wow, that's pretty neat. These guys knew how to tune flutes to guitars, and it wasn't really like that. This guy named Coyote Oldman in the 80s invented that. He was a flute maker out of Tennessee, I believe, or I'm mistaken, Alabama. Michael Graham Allen's his real name, but his music name is Coyote Oldman, and he made replicas of Native American flutes and sold them at fairs. And he noticed that the scale right here that I'm gonna play was kind of neat. People liked how easy it was to play it, but the scale was kind of weird. And I'll show you why. So that's a really more of a traditional style of song and scale. There's been some amazing musicians. Kevin Locke was one of them. He passed away a couple of years ago, who was a traditional flutist, and he learned his songs from his culture and sang them, and he played traditional native flute. But a lot of the flute music you hear today, these days, is not played on one of these flutes. Mostly because the scale is so foreign to us. A lot of times it doesn't sound right all the time, right? So even for me, especially being a trained musician, I get kind of like, wow, that doesn't sound quite, almost sounds like jazz almost, but it's really cool. But this guy, Michael Graham Allen, he noticed that people liked the way these played, but he couldn't sell them because the tuning was weird. Then he also made shakuhachi flutes, and he noticed that people couldn't play those, but they liked the scale. So what he did is he took that scale as it was in the shakuhachi flute and put it into the Native American style flute like these, and that's how the native flute was born in the mid '80s, and then it grew and exploded, and now you got High Spirits Flutes and all these other flute companies out there making flutes. But that's kind of a real quick nerdy story of how that worked. I don't think that's a good or a bad thing. I think it's just a thing that happened, and I really enjoy the fact that these flutes are tuned to guitars so I can play flute music. One of the other things that Coyote Oldman did, or Michael Graham Allen, is here in Tucson, Arizona at the museum, exists a pair of flutes that were found up in northern Arizona around Canyon de Chelly area. And these belong to my people, the Pueblo people. Another style of flute. This is just like a flute with a hole in it. This one's made by my friend, Mr. Magdalena. He's from the same tribe as me. This is made out of a yucca stalk. So the Pueblo people had flutes too, as well as the O'odham flute people here too. I have a flute made in the style of the O'odham Nation. But I'm going to play this for you too. Exists in this museum here in Tucson, and they call it where they found them is Broken Flute Cave, and like I said, it's down by up by Chaco Canyon. But it's old Basket Era 2 Puebloan site. And these flutes are really amazing. And so this guy, Michael Graham Allen, and other people interested in ethnography and native flutes took measurements and started reproducing them. And so I'm really fortunate to have some of his old flutes. But I'll play this for you. It's a really interesting and haunting sound.